Entrepreneurship is often portrayed as a talent problem, finding the right people, building the right team, and everything else falls into place, right? But what if the real problem isn't talent at all? What if the problem is that most companies have no idea how to attract the right people in the first place? Because hiring isn't just a process, it's a story. And most companies are telling the wrong one. Welcome, or hopefully welcome back to The Reluctant Entrepreneur. Today's guest, E.A. Clarke, has spent more than 30 years inside the recruiting world, not just observing it, but breaking it. As the founder of Pivot Plus Edge, he's built a company designed to challenge traditional recruiting by flipping the model entirely, shifting from transactional hiring to a market-driven, story-led approach. He's not just a recruiter, he's a serial entrepreneur who's built and exited early-stage companies, raised capital, and experienced firsthand what it actually takes to scale a team when you don't yet have a brand, the systems, or the playbook. In the first part of our conversation, we'll talk about that journey, the reality of building companies without a roadmap, the hiring mistakes that almost every founder makes, and what he learned the hard way about scaling beyond your immediate network. Then, in the second part, we'll shift into what he's focused on today, why traditional hiring is fundamentally broken, and how storytelling has become one of the most powerful tools in attracting top talent, and how founders can compete for high-impact people without simply throwing more money at the problem. If you've ever struggled to hire the right people or wondered why great candidates seem just out of reach, this is a conversation that will challenge how you think about building a team. And it all begins right now. Stick around. Hi, EI. Welcome to the show. I'm glad you're here. Looking forward to our conversation.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, of course.
Like anytime I can talk about storytelling, it's a good day. So I'm looking forward to it.
Let's begin the story, shall we? What first pulled you into entrepreneurship, and what was the moment you realized that you were no longer just working in business, but actually building one?
By accident, actually. I wish I could tell you that it was from an early age, I saw myself as an
methodically
entrepreneur.
planned as a child, right?
Yes,
No, not the case.
yes, that's right. Although I grew up in a small business environment, my mom and dad ran a small business for 35 years, so it wasn't foreign to me, but it wasn't necessarily what I thought I'd do after college. But I was in a situation where I was looking for opportunities, and a good friend of mine called and said, "You'd be very good at this. You should come and be the salesperson for this small company." And I'll tell you a quick little story. So I met I met the founder, and he really enjoyed the conversation that we had. And he said, we would really like you to be our VP of sales. That was a new step for me. I was a corporate environment for the first 11 or 12 years of my experience in human resources, but in corporate settings. And I remember saying to him, "Gee, I don't know, John, I have never done this kind of thing before." He said, "Oh no, you're going to be really good at it." And then about a week later, and I hadn't yet decided, he called me up and he said, "We're having a Christmas party. You must come." So, sure. Let's go. So I ended up going to this Christmas party, and he saw me from across the room in this banquet kind of place and points to me and signals me over, and he introduces me to their person that's running engineering, and he said, "I want you to meet our new VP of sales." And I said, "Well, I haven't really decided." "Well, I guess I am." So that that conversation led to... Yeah, that conversation led to a company that was probably running at about 20 or 30,000 a month, and we got it to almost 200,000 a month, and large multi-million dollar contracts, and then had a great exit from that. So that was my first experience in entrepreneur, working for an incredible man, a mentor, a founder, and I described John as one of those people that he'd ask you to jump off the cliff with him, and you just figure it all out on the way down. And that got me involved in recognizing that there's just no way that I would go back into that corporate environment again. It's the ability to kind of make a significant difference. Know that your contribution matters. Being able to be in the room when decisions are being made that are critical. And sometimes you get that shot in a corporate environment, but not always. And I just love it went from anxious to fantastic and fun, like in a very, very quick period of time. And then I realized that from that point on, I've really never worked for anybody since.
Yeah, I think you said that after that experience, you did not want to go back to corporate life. I think that even if you wanted to, you couldn't, because once you get that taste of
Yeah.
entrepreneurship, you'll be fired in eight days or 8 minutes maybe or 8 seconds. We entrepreneur type people are basically unhirable. The only plan B we have is another starting another business, right? And I think it's because of what drives us. We tend to be rule breakers. We tend to not do stupid. We make stupid decisions, but we don't play a game, right? We just have no time for all that. The shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line, and we tend to take that straight line, and that comes off sometimes as arrogant and maybe ignorant and bull in a china shop. Break things along the way, but that's kind of the way I think we are wired. 80% of all, statistically, 80% of all business startups fail. That's just a very inconvenient truth. You have to be wired differently to think that you're part of the 20% that make it, because 100% of the entrepreneurs think they're part of the 20%, which that math doesn't work, right? So just that mindset kind of makes it
Yeah.
difficult to work in a corporate environment where you got to do some good things, you got to do some stupid things, you got to play the game, you got to fit in, you have to kiss butt, whatever it is, you have to hit stupid goals and strategic goals all in the same day. So yeah, you don't really have a choice. Yeah,
You're to your point though, Mike. You describe the environment, so I think that's exactly why I would never jump back into a corporate environment. And even still today in Pivot and Edge, when we accomplish certain things, anybody that's responsible for helping deliver that and execute on it, they always look to me and say, "So what do you want to change about it?" I said, "Well, no, this is fine. This is good." No, it's never that. Like as soon as you see something, EA, you actually want to make it better. You always want to make it better. So what is that? And I think that's the curiosity of an entrepreneur to
yeah.
say, we're never really done with anything.
Mhm.
All we do is learn through curiosity, through the journey of getting to this point where you execute something. And I love the term that says, I reserve the right to be smarter today than I was yesterday. And I think if you can believe that to be true, I'm not suggesting that you can't rest for a period of time and execute things. I'm just saying when the execution occurs, just watch it. Watch the journey of it and be curious about it and see if you can tweak it, make it better, make it different. And, I've been running Pivot and Edge now for 8 years, almost 9 years. Its ability to execute on my visions way better today than it was in year 2 and year 3. I mean, still had the same vision, but I had to bring people along with me. I had to
Sure.
bring a team along that understood what I needed to do. So today I look at it and I go, we're close to where my vision is, but we got some things to do to make it better, and we will over time. And I think that's what entrepreneurs are just all about.
You said something that resonated with me, something to the effect of, things are never done, right? They're completed, at least to our satisfaction. I'm that way. I drive my staff crazy because I love starting projects. I'm kind of a visionary. I'm a conceptual creator type person. I love the process of creating. I don't love the process of finishing. I get bored with the details, and I will go on to another shiny object. in the corner. And my team has to follow me with either a garbage can to throw away the idea that I brought to, halfway, or finish it. But I'm not interested in the detail. I'm interested in the vision and the concept. And in my experience, as long as I'm interested in it, as long as it's exciting, I will keep going back and back and back and tweaking. And at some point, someone has to hit me over the head and go, Mike, we don't make money designing. We make money selling, what you design.
Yeah.
So it's great. Call it a day. And I'm like, no, just one more thing. And at some point, they have to kind of pry me away from it and, package it and market it and, sell it, ship it, all that stuff. But in my world, if I'm in my zone, it's never finished. It's always a work in progress.
Well, I know certainly from a sales perspective, I always think there's a deal somewhere there,
Right.
and I remember earlier in my career, this mentor that I spoke about, my first entrepreneur opportunity. I remember him bringing me into his office one time, and he said, "EA, you need to know when the horse is dead, you need to dismount." And
Yeah,
because
hard to argue that. Yeah.
I would keep slapping that horse because I still thought there was a deal in there somewhere. So I've
Yeah.
matured a lot since then. But to your point, Mike, that's exactly what you're saying. Like, there's always a way somewhere. We can always make this work. I know we can, and that optimism, can be a struggle at certain points in time. But I think that's what gets you up every morning. There's another deal somewhere, and there's an opportunity that's not finished, or there's a client that's happy but could be happier.
Yeah, completely agree. You built it and exited companies and spent decades in recruiting. What were some of the early mistakes you made when it came to hiring, and what did those mistakes teach you?
So one of the entrepreneurial opportunities I had, we raised significant capital, 14 million US, and it's kind of interesting. I joke about this. You go from euphoria of you've landed this capital to holy cow, what am I going to do with it? And part of what we had to do is grow the business. And in that situation, I had to rely on headhunters to help me. I found them very frustrating. Didn't really understand my vision, didn't really understand the business I was in. Kind of threw opportunity candidates over the bow, hope they'd stick, and then by accident or just luck, we'd get one or two that would stick, and then I'd write this significant check that I just go, holy cow, that's a lot of money, and I don't see what they did for it, and I didn't see the value of it. So after I did that, I did get into the executive search business before I built Pivot and Edge. And I really changed the model significantly there. I went to a fixed price model I thought the percentage of hired, they would, most executive search people go as a percentage of total compensation, and I didn't really understand the relationship between total comp and the effort that you put in. So I went to fixed price. But even during those days, I didn't like the people in my industry that I met. I found them very similar to the ones I leveraged and used when I was on the other side of the fence. So I just thought there's a better way to do this, and this whole industry is broken. So then my approach became, I think it's hiring is not a recruiting problem. Hiring's a marketing problem. And if you can understand that for a second or appreciate what I just said, then most organizations don't market at all when they try to hire. And they blame, the HR person for not getting the people that I want, or they blame the hiring manager for not finding. When you don't market to the right candidates, and you don't market your fit, and you don't market your vision, and you don't market your values, how the heck do you expect that you're going to hire anybody that's going to have all those things? So I said, we have to build a marketing first company that does recruiting. That's what we got to build. And we have over the last 8 years and successfully done it. It allows us to actually deliver the model significantly less expensive than traditional recruiting. But I don't build my value statement on it's being less expensive. I build a value statement on we find people that believe in your vision and fit. And I was at a fireside chat the other day and on a panel, and they were asking me, what were some of the typical mistakes that an entrepreneur would make in their first half a dozen hires. And I'd say that the attraction of someone that has all the experience you think they need without understanding whether they fit into the culture that you built. And, another one person described it as, when you're hiring someone in an early stage environment, you don't hire rocks that when they hit the water, they have huge waves. You hire pebbles, because pebbles will make those incremental changes to where you want to go, but they'll do that in a way that everyone buys in and everyone's joining into the vision and the culture. It's that aspect. And I've seen it happen. We hire in my own experience, someone when we're brought in was because he happened to be his kids actually happened to be in the same swim class as another executive in our class, and no appreciation to the culture and vision that we created, and that was a challenge. So I've seen firsthand when that doesn't work, and I would, that's what I would just indicate that's the plan moving forward if you're going to be successful as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, it's an interesting approach. We market to our customers. We don't market to the people we hire to find our customers, right? It makes sense that marketing shouldn't stop at just what's coming in the door monetarily. It should continue through everything coming through the door, including humans and vendors and sales distribution partners and all of that. A lot of founders rely heavily on their network, particularly in the early days. I did. But the problem with that network is it doesn't scale because we only know so many people. How did you adopt or adapt to that when you started your business? I'm sure you dipped into the old Rolodex. For you young people, that's the equivalent of a contact list on your phone, but an old school one, very old school one. How did you transition from networking, if that's what you dove into first, to something that was more scalable?
Well, first, why do you think you went to your network? Because you knew your network knew the fit.
True.
And some of the network that I would have brought into the organization didn't actually have all the technical requirements of the job, but I knew they would figure it out along the way. So the answer to that is that you got to start storytelling really early in this process. And it's kind of interesting. We have lots of customers that we talk about, we got to get you on video to tell your stories. Oh, I don't know if I could do that. And it's interesting. Have you ever met an entrepreneur that wouldn't tell his story at a social setting? Oh my
Never.
goodness! As soon as you open up the door, it's like, oh, let me tell you about this.
Thanks
I
for
hated
asking.
this.
Yeah,
This
ask
wasn't.
me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. So it's surprising. They are very comfortable once they get going, and we just have a series of questions that they respond to, and before you know it, we don't do a lot of the questions. They just do a lot of the talking. So I think the answer is to extend it beyond that first group that you may know well. You need to market to people through the storytelling. So you find people that have a similar cultural appreciation that the people that you really brought in, because they all have to fit together.
You talk about flipping the traditional recruiting model. Clearly, marketing is not a traditional recruiting model. It's funny, they will market themselves as a recruiter, but they will not market to the people they're recruiting, which is, it's just funny where people draw the line. What's fundamentally broken about how most companies approach hiring today?
So I think what they do is they think the right way to hire is to advertise and making sure that the job description or whatever has the tick boxes in terms of 5 years experience here and 3 years experience here and has done this and has done that and has done this and done that, and then they just simply post it. They post it on, I don't know, any of the social sites that traditional people recruit from. The challenge that they face is that, and we see that still in our candidate pool, it's like I say, it's like swipe left, you're interested, swipe right, you're not interested.
Yeah.
They
Tinder for hiring. Yeah.
Tinder for hiring. Some of the recruitment part of the recruitment team are always telling me stories about how someone will get on a interview and ask them, what's the job for again? I can't remember the name of the company, those kind of things. So we create opportunities to tell the story. So we create videos, we create spotlights of employees, we create a landing page, and we send people those landing pages through links. So when you're advertising in a job, it says, we're advertising for this particular type of company. Go have a look at what the president and CEO has to say about where they're going. So in our recruiting process, we ask them about their opinions. What did you think about the CEO story? And if the response is what story, they're not not going forward.
Put a hook in the water.
We need to hire people
bite.
that are curious.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, we laid it all out there for you. But if that's not important to you, then you're not right for this company. And I think that's the challenge they face. They don't know. First of all, they don't know how to market. And if they did, they don't. And then it becomes a screening tool for us. If you're someone that's going to want to buy an opportunity and not know what it is, you're the wrong person for this job. Go swipe right in some other place.
Yeah. I am a huge proponent of storytelling. My professional world is in the electronics manufacturing space, and we sell equipment that's part of the electronics manufacturing process. Very rabbit hole, very technical, very nerdy stuff. And when I first started my speaking career, speaking at conferences and symposiums and writing technical papers, my style has always been not trained, but just naturally, authentically, is to storytell. I'm a storyteller. If I tried to do the typical types of technical presentations common in our industry, I would have to kill myself because I would bore myself to death. And that's just me. Not putting those speakers down. That's me. I'm not that guy. And so I have a very unique, I'm known in my industry as a little nutty because I have this unique way to storytell. And my presentations are jam-packed with videos and animations and images, and almost no words on the screen. I'm the words, right? And it's just there to back me up. And I can't tell you, EA, how many times, and this happens now, at the end of my lecture, Q&A, any questions? Yeah. And then I'm packing up. I go outside for something to drink, and someone will follow me. This happens all the time, and they'll say, "Hey, Mike," and they look around, and they go, "Thank you." I'm like, "Well, you're welcome. For what?" It's the first time I actually understand the subject. I've never understood it, and I'm who's going to put their hand up and go, "Excuse me, I don't know anything you just said. I don't understand any of it." No one's going to say that publicly. So that's when I realized, you know what? People call me a little nutty in my tech world. That's okay, because I'm making a connection. And it doesn't matter how smart I think I am. I don't have to impress anyone with whatever I know in my space. It only matters what they receive. And can I move them? Can I get them
Hey,
thinking differently about something? Can I get them to comprehend something without speaking down? And I get a little bit of flack from fellow speakers on the lecture circuit that we all go around together because they think I'm just kind of not taking our industry serious enough. But I'm like, okay, that's fair. What I do works for me. It may not work for you. Don't try it if you're not comfortable with it. You think it's wacky. Stick with the technical rabbit hole stuff and all the jargon. That's cool. Someone has to. Thank you for doing that because now I don't have to. Now I can have fun because you're going to explain all the stuff for the nerds, and I'll get the regular people. But anyway, I'm a huge fan of storytelling, and I love the fact that it's being applied to something as traditionally boring as recruiting. And I don't mean your job's boring
exactly.
at all. I just mean the process of 10 years experience and we want this and we want this and you got to be a certified that
I know.
and you know
Yeah,
expand your opportunities. That's about as creative as most traditional recruiters get. And they're making tons of money off, potentially off securing somebody, but putting boilerplate effort into it. So it's really exciting and refreshing to see your industry, you changing that industry, you becoming somewhat of a disruptor within that world. Based on what you've been doing, have you seen other recruiters attempt to follow that model?
no, I. It kind of surprises me a bit, but I guess and someone would say, being lonely in a space, is that a good thing, EA? Like seriously,
It's a
wouldn't you
great
like
thing.
to see a couple of? Yeah, yeah, I say it's a great thing. And I think part of it is I built it from scratch. And if you were to take a traditional recruiting company and retool it like this, the investment's significant. And I've built a model on a monthly retainer to handle the marketing pieces, and then a flat fee for every hire that gets made. And but that figure is significantly less than what a recruiter would charge. And I don't think they can look at the model and go, "Oh my gosh, how could I possibly turn away 25 and $30,000 hits and do this monthly thing?" And it would just, you'd have to recomp the recruiting people that are doing the job. You'd have to restructure. You'd have to hire marketing people. Like our company looks more like a marketing company than a recruiting tool. Like if you look at our software stack, it's full of very traditional marketing things. We have people that are posting things on Instagram and TikTok, and uh, creating. They look at all the content as a content library, and where are the channels for that content to be gone. Nothing different than a product company saying, okay, I've got the features and benefits of this product. Now, who do I tell the story to? Well, I tell it through this channel. I tell it to that. I tell it on the web. That's how we look at every piece of our content libraries for our customers. And we say, where do we want, where does that candidate live, work, and play? And we need to talk to them. And that's no different than what an Amazon says every day, or Home Depot says every day. You know, where does that customer live, work, and play? We need to talk to them. So, I I just think that they're not interested until it's desperate. And I think if we, my vision is to be significantly larger than we are today, be you know, and others to follow in our footsteps. And there'll be a point where someone will say, how can you recruit without marketing? And the answer should be you can't. Right now, though, I think some of our customers are surprised at our approach. Um, Having said that, once they become our customer, I don't think they'd ever go back to the traditional way.
Yeah.
Um, but I do think they're surprised initially at our approach.
I think if I were you and someone asked me, how can you recruit without marketing? Your answer was, you can't. Totally there. And I would follow it up with a question. What do you call marketing? So many things are marketing outside of the traditional definition
Mm,
opinion of what marketing is. The person in the shipping department that's putting things in boxes is marketing. The person who answers the phone obviously is marketing. The salespeople are marketing, clearly. The service people that go out and keep the equipment running are marketing. Everything is marketing at the end of the day in some loose description. And I think what you're doing is more marketing than just putting a call for resumes out, right? Or a ad in the classifieds. I don't even think that term is out anymore, but or a post in Indeed or whatever, ZipRecruiter, whatever the case may be.
mhm.
I think you are more of the definition, classic definition, stereotypical definition of marketing than anything else. For companies that don't have a strong brand yet, say someone's kind of just getting started, people don't know who they are, it's kind of an obscure company. How can they realistically compete for top talent, short of just offering ungodly amounts of money? What would your advice to them be, in addition to call my company? What what's the first thing they should change about their mindset as a relatively unknown small startup?
So, as an unknown startup, your brand is you,
Mm-hmm.
and you need to know that right out of the gate. No one's going to join that company except for you and the C-suite you've hired. It's not, you're not Google, you're not IBM, you're not BMW, you're not Lexus. You don't know what you don't know. And right now, until that brand, and I think that corporate brand that has some attraction to it is a long, long way away. So the only people you should be able to attract are ones that are going to believe in your message. And I don't know how you attract them if you don't tell it. And and it's just as, I think, as valuable once you have key members of that team, let them tell it.
Hmm.
And I was just on a call the other day doing convincing a candidate that they should go to the next step, and they weren't necessarily convinced of it. And I've been doing work for this company for a long, long time, so I actually story told on behalf of the president and CEO. And I told this candidate what that CEO was about. And I got them convinced to have the lunch meeting, and that person is going to actually take the job, or that's going to happen. But they didn't ask me what the company brand was. I wasn't even interested in telling them that. I use terms like, you got to know whether you can go to war with that person. This is not going to be easy. So, to answer your question, it's not a corporate brand at this stage. You can't possibly build it yet. You haven't got enough customers. You haven't got enough success stories, enough use cases, probably. You have to take your brand and convince people that, what you want to do is aligned with what they would want to do. And that's the brand you have to tell.
Speaking of the brand, Pivot and Edge, where did those names come from? What does that mean? What were you trying to portray or communicate when you named the company?
Well, I can tell you a story about that, but it probably wouldn't be a true one. Um,
No fairy tales, EA. No fairy tales.
no, it came from putting names onto slide decks about 140 of them, and fast, like flashcards, going through a number of those, and then stopping when there was a group of friends around. And I said, just say stop when you like the word. So we ended up from like 140 down to 35 or 40. Then we did the exercise again and got it down to about 20. And in those 20 were the terms pivot and edge. And both of them, to me, reflected, I think, on what I wanted to do and on what I wanted to achieve. One was, I need to pivot the thinking of people and pivot an industry from where it is today to where I want to take it. And the other, the edge component piece, was, and I think I'm on the edge of something new. I don't think it's traditional. I think, we're going to jump off the edge together. I put the two together because I thought they represented exactly what I wanted. But it took a bit of a funny exercise to get to those two terms. But as soon as I saw them in that group of 20, I thought those are the terms I need. And I thought they described what I wanted to achieve as a company.
Wow, you actually you created your own focus group, and
I did.
That's great. That's great. I interviewed someone not too long ago that had an unusual company name. I forget the name of the company now, but I asked, a similar question, and they said, "Oh, SEO." It was for search engine optimization. It didn't really have a direct connection to their company. It's one of those names where they could tell me where they work, and I would still have no clue what they did. And I'm like, oh, was this meaningful? Is there some like cool story from the past? And like, I think your story is cool. The fact that you did a little focus group and you said stop. When you see a word that strikes you, that to me is a cool story. Theirs was, no, we just tried a bunch of SEO keywords that were hot and cheap and not widely used. And this is what we ended up on. I'm like, okay, all right. Oh, that's a story. Boring, but that's a story.
Well, and how long will they be hot?
I know, that's it. I mean, they're going to end up with a stupid name or a silly name, totally disconnected from what they do. It could be irrelevant in 6 months or 6 days.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah.
Although there are many companies today, when I say that, I'm a little bit disingenuous because look at 3M. 3M that makes tape and adhesives and all that stuff. Minnesota Mining and Manufacturing is that's the name of the company, but they don't do any of that. Well, they do some manufacturing. They don't do any mining anymore. AT&T, American Telephone and Telegraph. No one's sitting there. Those days are gone, right?
No,
so
those are
I
gone.
understand. Things change, but that's usually 100 years later, not 6 days later. Last question, because we're pretty much out of time. How did you define success before you started Pivot and Edge early in your career, and how do you define it now?
Early in my career, I defined it on execution. And in fact, I can remember, good friend now, but the boss at the time basically said, if you want it done, give it to EA, but be ready to with a broom and a dustpan because you're going to have to sweep up after them. And I got to be known as that guy in the corporate environment that, I didn't really ask for permission very often. I just asked for forgiveness and got stuff done. Today, I'd like to think I was that, but I've got a lot softer edges to me today than I did. I was kind of proud about the guy who needed a broom after him. I would not be proud today to have that. Having said that, though, I do hear from members of the team that I can have tone to my conversations. I don't mean to have it. It's just kind of what I have. But I still believe in, judging and and deciding my success based on how my ability to personally execute what I'd like, and our ability as Pivot and Edge to execute. And when we don't, I'm disappointed. It's usually a customer that I'm disappointing, and I fix it. And I communicate that to the team, and I say, if we're not executing, fix it. So I think we're all about delivering that. And in the recruiting world, which is really interesting, it's one of the few areas in human resources that is about execution. I think that's why I gravitated to it, even in my early HR career. All the other areas are very kind of soft when it comes to delivery. But recruiting was one of those where hiring managers matter. They are desperate. They need these people today. It hurts when they don't have them, and it hurts when they have the wrong ones. And so if we can continue to deliver and execute on our mission, we'll always be able to deliver, candidates that fit the culture and relate to the vision of our customers. And that's what I believe to be the truth.
Excellent. For my viewers or listeners who would like to get more information on Pivot and Edge, EA's company, and maybe determine how they can help you tell your story to attract more compatible, culture-oriented people who want to brag about working with you rather than just, punch a clock. The information on EA's website will be in the show notes. If you're watching this on YouTube, look down here where it says see more. Information will be there. The URL will be there. And if you're listening to this on your favorite podcast app, of course, go to that podcast app's show notes and that information will be there. EA, thank you so much for sharing your journey with me and some insight onto best practices when it comes to recruiting. You're certainly a disruptor in your field. I think you probably every day still break a few things. So that guy that you used to enjoy being, you're not getting rid of him yet. The fact that you keep pushing that concept of storytelling applied to recruiting does make you a disruptor. So keep disrupting. I think it's great, and keep telling stories. Most of them should be true, and I'm sure they are. But thank you for spending all this time with me and my audience. I really appreciate it, and I wish you continued success as you move forward.
Thanks, Mike. I enjoyed it a lot, and when I get a chance to tell my stories, I love to get a chance to. I'd love to do it. So you've given me that opportunity. So thanks so much.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you. Okay, here's a few final thoughts. If there's one thing to take away from this conversation, it's this: hiring isn't a transaction. It's not about filling a role, checking a box, or posting a job description and hoping the right person shows up. It's about alignment. Alignment between where your company is today, where your company is trying to go, and the kind of people who are actually built for that journey. That's where so many founders get it wrong. They focus on resumes, experience, and credentials. But the best hires aren't always the most obvious ones. They're the ones who believe in the story, who understand the mission, and who are willing to build something that doesn't exist yet. That takes more than a job posting. It takes clarity, intentionality, and a willingness to rethink how you attract people in the first place. Because the reality is, great talent isn't just sitting around waiting to be found. You've got to give them a reason to care. So the question becomes, are you telling a story that the right people want to be part of, or are you just trying to fill a position? Now, that's a wrap. Thanks for being part of our Reluctant Entrepreneur family. We have been incredibly busy recording future episodes with fascinating guests, so be sure to subscribe and get notified when new episodes drop. If you're an entrepreneur or know someone who would make a great guest, we'd love to hear from you. Visit reluctantentrepreneur.podcast.com, where you can apply or recommend a guest or just learn more about the show. And a couple of shameless plugs. I've started a new series under the Reluctant Entrepreneur brand. The new series is called Reluctant Lessons, Where Businesses Went Wrong. On this series, we dig into high-profile business failures and discuss what went wrong. So far, we've profiled Rubbermaid, Kodak, Blockbuster, BlackBerry, and DeLorean Motor Company, with many more to come. Check those and other episodes out on this channel. And if you're interested in my book, The Reluctant Entrepreneur, Anatomy of a Business Startup from Uncertainty to Unstoppable, it's available in paperback and Kindle on Amazon, and as an audiobook on both Audible and Amazon. And finally, to everyone listening or watching, if you find yourself stepping into entrepreneurship, whether by choice or by circumstance, remember this: sometimes the path we never planned becomes the journey we were meant to take. Thank you all so much for being here. I truly appreciate you. I'll see you again very soon.